I did want to briefly remind people of the hackathon teaming document. Let me share. So it looks like people have started to put their project ideas in the teaming document. Um, we've got 5 projects in there so far. A couple of these have not been presented as lightning talks, so make sure to take a look at the teaming document to see any project ideas that maybe haven't been presented yet, if you might be interested in working with them. If you are planning on attending the hackathon and looking for a project to join, go ahead and put your information in this field here with a little bit of detail about your background, and we can start helping people find groups um, today and tomorrow and at the beginning of the hackathon on Friday.
So I just put in the chat, there were a number of people yesterday who said that they might be interested in participating in the hackathon. It's obviously your choice whether you want to do it or not. We'd love to have you. Is there any information that we can provide to you that might help you make a decision about whether you'd like to do it? In particular, maybe we could go over, you've seen the lightning talks, but if there's anything else we could do to help you think about what you could do in those 3 days that would be valuable to your research and your learning, please do let us know. Speak up. You could ask us in the chat or just unmute now. That would be fine.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of time before lunch today, so we're happy to discuss um, anything you may want to know about hackathon.
There was a question in the chat, could we upload the existing lightning talk slides so that you could go over them? I don't know if we have all the slides, but you certainly could go over the videos. They're all on the YouTube channel.
Yes, and we already have a number of people have uploaded their presentations. I think this is actually everybody.
There also are the descriptions. I think there were 6 presentations and I count 5 there.
Yeah. Okay.
But there
find
also are the teaming document may have information as well. Are there any people who are listed in the teaming document and who did not do lightning presentations?
Yes.
So maybe
Just
we
one so
should
far.
call to them now and ask them if they could just speak if they're here. I don't think Amar is here, but if the people who put ideas into the teaming document but have not given lightning talks, it would be quite helpful if you could speak up and explain what you're thinking about and interests are.
Yeah, it looks like the 2 who haven't presented aren't currently in the meeting.
It feels a bit disorganized, but once you get started working, it usually refines itself pretty fast into a good project. As I say, over the years, a lot of people have wound up publishing results from things they started in the hackathon. So it can be quite productive.
Yeah, most of our guest presentations this year are actually people who started their work as a hackathon project. I think 5 out of 6 of the presentations this year were all hackathon projects that have been published within the last year or 2. So the hackathon is a good opportunity to really get started on something maybe that you've been having trouble conceptualizing on your own.
Any of the people who have presented so far, the people who are thinking about possibly participating in the hackathon but are uncertain, if you could speak up, please ask us here. It's also an opportunity if people who did lightning talks are present in the room and people who are interested in those talks want to ask them questions, you could ask each other questions now too.
Yeah, Maisha asks if we have enough people interested. Um, we should, Maisha. What we've found is that we have more people who come to the hackathon on Friday than we usually have filling out information for looking for teams. So we will be doing some project grouping for the first half of the day on Friday to help people find their teams.
I mean, there's also, as a practical matter, when we do the hackathons, some people will start a project and then they'll get busy and walk away from it, or they'll decide it's not working out the way they want. That happens. That's normal in a hackathon. And there are often people who are, for example, joined a project that doesn't seem to be working, will move into another group. So there's always a bit of fluency among these things. We've definitely had situations in the past where there were multiple people who wanted to do similar things. And after one day, they decided, gee, it would be more useful to combine forces. That's one reason we ask for people to do a midday report, short midday report, and an end of day report every day, so that people can learn from each other. If there's a group that's having an issue, maybe they can help each other. Groups can combine. Occasionally, groups split off and do two separate things. Those are all possible. We've had situations over the years where somebody worked on their own. That can be productive, but in general, the hackathon format is more fun when you're a team. But we're there to support people however they want to be supported. You don't have to be a team to work. Although I think it's a more enjoyable learning experience, and often expertise complements in ways that you don't expect. So even people who might think that they don't have much to contribute to this project may discover there's a lot to do that is really valuable. Time zones can also be in your favor. If you have somebody in India, somebody in Australia, and somebody in the US, you can work 24 hours a day. So that can be helpful as well. I don't know, Hayden, if you have any other kinds of comments about that you want to add.
Not really. I think that about covers it. Yeah, the time zone thing is, we've found it to be, it can be tricky to find people who are in your exact time zone, but like James said, we found that it's actually beneficial to have groups where time zones don't perfectly align. So you have some overlap. So maybe a couple of people can work in the evening and a couple of people can work in the morning, and um, people can kind of take meal breaks as needed, and helps you maximize that time. So I'd say don't worry too much about your time zones working out exactly. Just obviously you don't want somebody in the exact opposite time zone to the point where you never have a chance to meet and talk about anything, but um, some difference can be beneficial in a group.
We also tend to leave the Zoom running. Now it eventually times out if nobody's using it, but we'll leave the Zoom running and the breakout rooms running, so that even if the instructors aren't around, people can come in and work during the off hours. Any other questions or comments about? And people who did the hackathon presentation, lightning talks, if you're willing to share the slides, please do send them to Hayden so that we can put them up.
Yeah, I'll double check my schedule and see which deck we're missing.
Leonardo says he's a maybe because he's not sure how he could contribute. People always need people to look in the literature. They always need people to try out different ideas. They need people to help debug code. They need people to write up the slides. Whatever your I don't know, Leonardo, what your background is. Something that we did when we did these in person, which we didn't do this year, which might have been a good thing, is actually to take the time to go around the room and have everybody introduce him or herself. But almost anybody who comes to this meeting at all, has a lot of background. Your background might be in physics, it might be in computing, it might be in biology, it might be in some chemistry, something else. But I guarantee that no matter where you are, we've had, again, I think we had one high school student this year participate. And over the years, there was Derek Moo presented a couple of times, actually, as guest presenter. He was a high school student when he did the research that he published on immune system. And we've had everything and we've had emeritus professors join this class. We've had pure mathematicians, we've had MDs. And so whatever your background is, if you find the problem interesting, you want to learn about it, even if all you're doing is reading Wikipedia or reading review articles on the subject, and you're giving people advice, that by itself can be very valuable. So I would not assume that that you can't contribute. Now, occasionally there'll be people who come in who know exactly what they want to do. They want to work on their own. And those aren't usually the groups you want to join. But most groups are pretty flexible and eager to have support. Uh, I would say that the number of people who come in and find they don't have anything to contribute is, I won't say it's zero over the years. We've done this for many years, but it's very, very small. The fact that you're here already means you have things to contribute.
Yeah, one more thing maybe to add there is that the hackathon, while it's a model building um, practicum exercise, it's also more a learning opportunity. So you don't have to come in, ready to build a model with your skills completely honed. It's the purpose of the hackathon is to learn how to go from a biological
Right.
idea to a prototype simulation. So it's perfectly fine if you don't feel like you can come in and, code up the Python exactly how it needs to be. The point is to get experience in kind of hammering away at something and figuring out how to get it to run the way that you want it to run.
I
Um,
mean, we have lots of sample models we'd love to see turned into CompuCell demos, for example. She wanted to come in and take a published paper and then try to replicate that paper. We'd be happy to support you in that exercise. It's a good way to learn. We benefit. Uh, if we actually use it after it's done, you get credit for it. So those are possible. If you're really a hardcore coder or a vibe coder and you want to build an extension to CompuCell or add a wizard page or work on the documentation, those are also possible too. So there's almost the problem is that there are too many ways that one can do things that are valuable and interesting. It's really a question of what you want to learn and what would be beneficial to you. And it's always a bit harder when you're just starting on a methodology to think, how can I use it? But I think that it's unlikely that you will be wasting your time, whatever you decide to do. And again, if you come in and you say you don't have a project, we have plenty of sample projects like model replication that we could come up with. We'll talk to you about your scientific interests, your research interests. Gee, you're interested in zebrafish coat patterning. Well, there's this nice paper of Alexandria Volkaning that would be wanted to replicate for years. Why don't you try that? We're pretty good at finding those kinds of things.
yeah, and one other note. So on Friday when we get started, we'll basically the whole day on Friday is considered kind of open teaming time. We'll do some more active teaming in the morning, and then in the afternoon we usually let people start planning their projects. But on Friday, it's okay for people to kind of move around and change teams if they realize that maybe their particular skills will be useful in a different project or something like that. What we usually do say is that by the midpoint on Saturday, we usually like to leave our teams as set as possible, unless there's some kind of real interpersonal issue going on, which we've never actually really had an issue with. But usually it takes longer to catch a new member up by the end of the day on Saturday um, than is usually worth it. But there is a chance to kind of move around and try out a couple different projects on Friday if you want to.
There's another thing that I guess I'll say, which is hackathons have become very popular in the past few years, but it's not a new concept. And I remember participating, the National Academies and Keck had a series of hackathons uh, over the years called the Keck Futures Initiative. And I participated in 3 of those. And they would come in, they would assign things that seemed crazy. They would break you up into groups. They would assign groups that seemed to make no sense at all. And at the end of the first day, everyone would go to bed in despair, thinking, I can't get along with these people. They have no idea what they're talking about. I don't know what we're trying to do. And somehow magically at the end of day 3, everybody's team had a report on something that was quite interesting, and those things were published. So if you do join the hackathon after day 1 and you think, I don't understand what's going on, sleep on it and come back on day 2. If at the end of day 2 you're still not working, then, well, that's an issue. But there is human brains are very good at pattern recognition, but it takes time and usually sleep. And so a lot of times the chaos of these early stages of these kinds of projects, stick it out. There's a tendency to say, I don't belong, or I can't contribute, or I don't know what we're doing. But that's the point, is to try to do these things in a self-organized way. Now, if teams come in and they know exactly what they want to do and they're all set, and they just want some assistance, that's fine too. But it's amazing how much after a night's sleep you could get done on day 2, when day 1 is just throwing out ideas and exploring. It doesn't have to be well-defined when you come in on day 1. That's actually, there were a couple of years where we did 2-day hackathons, and we went back to 3-day hackathons, because it really is important. On day 1, you should just brainstorm. Anything goes. Day 2, you fail. By the end of day 1, you start finalizing your focus. Day 2, you work seriously on the focus. Sometimes you have to change direction on day 2. Day 3, you resolve it, write it up, and present it. And if you look at the recorded videos of some of the day 3 presentations, it's almost unbelievable that people hadn't started on these projects at all 2 days earlier. And it's okay if at the end of day 3 you say, I tried something and it didn't work. If you go through a course like this and you say, I never want to use these methods again, that's okay. You've learned something. The point of a project like this, we're happier if you say, I love these methods, I want to use them, I know how to use them. But the point of you're all making a big gamble by coming in and spending your time with us, and we appreciate it very much. And we also know that this kind of modeling in our particular software may not be what everybody needs. But we hope we've given you tools for thinking about biological modeling and thinking about problem definition and solution that are very general in application. Even if you're not going to do multicellular modeling, even if you won't use CompuCell, I hope that the ways we've thought about problems and shown you how to think about problems will be helpful to you, whatever you do going forward. And the hackathon can be thought of in the same way. It's a way of exploring how to think about conceptualizing and delivering problems, even if it's not one that's actually going to get you to your PhD or your publication. If you can learn from it and go through the process of defining and refining and implementing and describing to others a project about computation, that in itself is a very valuable skill to have. And the presentations are important. We don't tend to teach people how to present material, and we don't have that many opportunities to do it when we're students in particular. And I believe very firmly that the ability to communicate ideas to other people is critical. And nowadays with LLMs, you throw in a ChatGPT and you have it generate slides for you. But it's not the same as understanding what you're coming from, why you're doing what you're doing. Which is not to say you shouldn't use ChatGPT over the weekend as part of your development process. But I hope that we can work together to help people. Modeling is hard, no question about it. And I think this is an opportunity to get some pointers from experts, which might not be so easy to get in other contests.